Hello and welcome. Today's video is going to be a user request video. A guy on my channel asked me if I can come up with one for the apmpro. I did the step-by-steps for the CX20 and showed all the pinouts for that, but I never got around to showing the Unbrick part of it. I'm going to do a 2-in-1 video. I'm going to show how to unbrick the 2560 and the mega32u2 chip that controls the USB. So usually one of those two chips have failed, and if it doesn't fix your problem, that means the 2560 or something else is most likely fried in your unit. He has this style, the USB ASP or ASP or whatever. Seems a lot of people have this one instead of my MK2 or the USB Tiny. So I'm just going to show with this guy here because this is the one he actually has. I got it from here. Bought a couple of them because sometimes it takes a while to get them, and if you get one dead or whatever, it's kind of handy to have a couple of them. I'd also suggest getting these cables here. It does come with this gray cable here, so you can actually cut it and just use the wires if you want, but they're all gray, so that might get a little bit confusing. But if you do one at a time, it's not that bad. At least with these guys here, they're color coded, or you can follow color codes. And yeah, so I'm just going to jump into the video so it doesn't take too long. Alright, I'm just going to show you guys a couple of pictures so you don't have to watch the whole video just for the pinouts. When I'm soldering anyways, it probably will be confusing. Here is the ISP for the 2560 chip. The green guy here is the reset, and I would suggest soldering it right there instead. And then same with the positive and the negative, solder elsewhere. So the only three wires you have to solder would be the purple, yellow, and blue. These two units here, one's a USB ASP, and the other one is the MK2 that I usually use in my videos. Just follow the color codes for either one of them for here that corresponds, and everything should be well. For the mega32u2 chip that's located right here, the ISP is actually right here for it. And ignore this green guy here, it's most likely for flip, which I don't cover in this video. Again, you follow exactly the same color codes for here. However, I suggest not soldering on the pins here. The only one you have to solder is the reset. So that's just one. And this picture here explains why. You can actually just use C2, C3, and C4 on your APM. Just orient it the same way with the USB on the right side. Your positive would be here for VCC 5 volts and your ground here. Again, just follow the same color codes for this and everything should be fine. Alright, so the first thing I suggest doing before you do all the wiring and stuff is plug this into your computer and let's just make sure it works. So I'm in a virtual machine, so hopefully everything goes okay. Okay, so if you're running Windows 10 or anything below Windows 10, you can install this driver app bundle and then go to the lib32 and then find your device and install it. I'll show that after, maybe. I include a link for Device Manager, so open this guy up. And here you'll notice you'll have, it's not working properly or whatever. So again, if you have Windows 10, go into Easier Driver, install this folder. This part is important or it's not going to work with the USB ASP. Alright, so here make sure it's listed. If it's not listed, you can go to list all devices and it should show up. Under here, find libusbk. Now this is pretty important if you're on Windows 10. Like I said, it's not going to work if you don't pick this guy. So click Install Driver. Right? So once that's done, you can close this guy down and then test it out. So we have the USB ASP, so you can double click on here, and this is just going to confirm this part. If you don't get this up here, that means it wasn't found. And here you can see it found it, so everything should be okay. So you don't have to push any key to continue, just close this down. On Windows, below Windows 10 or whatever, with the Easier Driver install, you can try clicking on choose you're gonna have to go to list all devices now, and you'll want to pick, if I can find it, this guy here, libusb 1.2.60, and that's for below Windows 10. You can try the other one just for kicks if you're having problems, but anyways, that's that. So now it's all working, so now we can jump onto the wiring part of it. Alright, so this part of the video is going to be me soldering it all up. You can use this guy here if you want, just cut the wires up. It's only 5 wires anyway, so you don't necessarily have to use these kind of cables. Just make sure you have a multimeter that when you touch 2 leads together, it beeps. This way you can make sure you have all the pins right when you're soldering it up. But I'm not going to be using this guy. I'm going to be using these wires here. So with my color codes, I have the purple, which kind of looks gray, violent. Purple, red, blue, black, green, and yellow. And I'm probably going to use this style here, this way I can solder on to the reset. So you can use, if you got the cables or whatever, you can use this style as well. I just think it might be a little bit too crowded in here doing a direct solder, and I like to hot glue my wires in place. So most likely I'm going to strip them back and then hot glue them just right on here itself, because hot glue is pretty easy to remove after. Just have to take your time. And I may as well jump into this now. Alright, so the very top corner one is going to be my purple. Okay, you're going to want to twist your wires to make sure you get no frays. I'm just going to do the one here with you, and then I'll probably fast forward the rest. Having a ball on the end is not a bad idea. This way it might stick there better. These pads here too, you're going to have to be quick on. You don't want to rip them off. And it's hard to do this without a magnifying glass because my camera's over top. But I'm going to try to pre-tin these pads if I can. See if I can get this in here. That's probably not coming on the camera, but it's helping me a little bit here. Might have to scrape them up a bit too. Sometimes there's much too much. Yeah, there's obviously something on this board still, or there was. Okay, I don't really need that one. Yeah, it's all blurry for you guys. Okay, so let's see if I can get this in here. The top guy here is your positive, which we're not going to solder, and the one here is your negative, which we're not going to solder. And this bottom one, I added some solder to it, but we're really going to get reset right there instead. So you definitely need a magnifying glass for this, because you don't want to get bridges here and stuff. So the first one, like I said, is going to be my purple. I'm going to see if I can get away without hot gluing. But I definitely have to keep locking the camera view with this guy here just so I can get good solder joints here without bridges. Okay, so after it's soldered, it's really important that you don't, see if I can get this guy down a bit. Actually a pretty bad camera. So it's pretty important after you do your solder that you don't move these wires around too much. So the next one I'm going to do is the one underneath this purple guy, and that's yellow. Sometimes these ends don't rip off, but sometimes they do. Okay. Again, be very careful with these wires that they don't rip off these traces, because it's really easy to rip off the traces. Okay, so the next one is gonna be green. Yeah, we'll skip the green one for now because that's a reset. Okay, so the next one is our mossy, and that's blue. Right, so those are the three connections we need. Jump back in. I'll just get the reset out of the way as well. And the reset on the bottom corner. I'm not even sure if this is coming out clear or not. Hopefully I can zoom in after. I don't think I need my magnifying glass for this guy. So I'm going to go right there for it. Alright, so now I'll just pause it and let my hot glue heat up. Right, so I'm just going to add a bit of hot glue to these guys carefully. Doesn't have to be pretty or nothing because you're just going to be ripping it off right away anyways. That one doesn't really matter. Alright, so we got our wires on. So for the positive and negative now, with your case like this with the USB on the, we'll say left side, you can double check with this guy here. The wires are on the back side here for your positive and negative. So kind of ignore what I just said about it being on the left side, just point it onto the right side. And now you can just plug in, see if I can get this, your ground and your positives. So ground's on the bottom. Get back in camera. And then your positive is in the middle, on the very first rail. Right here, like that. Right? Might have to move the camera back up because. Okay, so now the pinouts for this guy here. Now, I'm not exactly sure if this is going to work yet because I haven't tried it. Kind of doing it with you guys here. It just might be too long. Alright, and that could be some of the issues you guys run into when you're trying to unbrick these guys, is your wires are just too long. Alright, so the pinouts here is, we'll start at the very top left corner, and that's blue. So the point of the glue here is this, now you can pull on this guy without worrying about screwing anything up there. So the purple one's on the top left corner, like that. The one underneath it is not used. The other one is green, and that's your reset. So just make sure you leave a pin there. And the one under green is SEK, and we used yellow for that. SEK, and the one underneath that is MISO, and that's your purple. If you don't have purple, just use orange or whatever you have. All my pictures are PNGs, so you can just directly edit them and just use the bucket and change the colors for your needs. Okay. Now the top corner here is your positive. And really, any of these ones are your ground. Even the one there, I believe, is ground as well. But they say use the ground on the bottom, which you really don't have to, but whatever. So ground on the bottom like that. So you should have an L shape in there with 4 pins. And as is, we're done wiring this guy up. Alright, so once you're done wiring it up, now you can plug it into your computer. I have to plug it into my keyboard somehow, very carefully. And it takes a while, so just make sure wherever you plug it in, it can't move around too much. So once you plug it in, it should come to life. If it's bricked, you'll probably just get just the green light there. Because I have just the bootloader right now, it's blinking blue. So let's see. Gotta get comfortable here. Right. Right, so if you want to install just the bootloader, click on this guy here. And once it's done, unplug your ISP, and you have to go into MissionPlanner. So I'm just going to unplug the positive wire here and the negative wire and see if it works just like that. Now you can plug in the USB cable. And open up MissionPlanner. Okay, set your COM port for what it is and 115200. Now if you push connect here, it's not going to work. It's just going to keep trying to connect forever type thing and then error out because there's no firmware. So go to initial setup, install firmware, and then just click on whichever one you want. It'll automatically detect it for the version 3.21 or for the version 2.6 APM. So I'm going to click on this, say yes. So here it's going to detect the board, hopefully, and it's going to downgrade it to version 3.21 for me. Okay, so if you get an error like that, you just might have to try again. Could be because I have stuff still connected to it. But we're just going to try that one more time. Actually, just to make sure, I'm just going to unplug everything here on the ISP. We'll see if it bricked it again. I'm going to unplug it. You don't really want to unplug it, but seeing we know we can unbrick it anyways. Actually, it seems that it actually wrote to it, I think. It might be actually working now. So I can actually push connect here just to see. Oh, yeah, it worked. So it just had an error reading back. But just in case, you can just try rewriting it anyways, just to make sure. And you can go to your flight data. And now you can move it around to make sure everything works. Alright. So I'm going to disconnect it. And then I'll just quickly show you the other way quickly as well. I'm just going to connect this stuff back up. Okay, so the ISP is back up. I'm going to program it the longer way now, just to show you that as well. So now you can go into new full write with firmware. Connect this guy back up. Okay, this one takes a while this time. So we can get rid of that light. We can actually kind of brick it right now just by doing this. Okay, so now it's back to being how it was before. So now if I go to new full write with firmware, you can pick the one you're on, and we're usbasp again. Push any key. So this one takes quite a while. So I'm just going to super fast forward this. And we're done. So now we can unplug everything and connect to MissionPlanner. As you can see, the red and blue light were blinking there, so it should be good to go now. So I'm going to unplug this guy. And I'm going to unplug all this stuff and just connect to MissionPlanner and see if it worked. All right. Okay, make sure the COM ports are set up right. Now you should just be able to push connect. There you go, we unbricked it. And then you can move things around, make sure it's working, and that's perfect. Okay, so the next part of the video is going to be showing you how to unbrick the mega32u2 chip in case you've done that and the lights do blink and stuff. But so say if you plug in the APM here and you don't get a COM port underneath ports, say it just comes up blank, it might be your mega32u2 chip. And yeah, so I'm going to show you guys how to do that. So now we have to unsolder all this stuff. Right, so orient your board this way with the USB cable on that side. So it would look like that. We already have our positive and negative done. So now we just need more cables again with the ends on it this time. And we need yellow, blue, and purple. Didn't have a purple one in this mess here, so I'm just going to reuse this guy. Just soldered on an end to it. If you don't have the right colors, like I said, you can just replace my colors in the picture so you don't get confused. So we're going to want yellow, blue, and green. No, we don't want green. Yellow, blue, oh, just yellow and blue. All right, so yellow, blue, and purple. Put your board over here like that. And again, we're going to follow the same layout, color for color again. So we'll get rid of the yellow one first because that's at the top here. These guys don't plug in too easy. Okay, so yellow is right at the top there. That, and then yellow plugs into the second one here, and a guy like that. Next one we'll do is blue. That goes underneath the yellow. Hopefully I can plug it in there. gets in. And then the blue goes right at the top on this guy here. Like that. And the one right at the bottom is your purple one. And then the purple one plugs into the bottom on this guy here like that. Okay, our black and red. Our red goes at the top right corner. And our ground goes on the bottom. Eventually. I really only want to go in one way on this thing. Just make sure this purple one's plugged in. Yeah, it was plugged in. Okay, reset is actually that pin right there, the very first one. So I'll have to update the picture for that. Alright, so a little closer picture here. I originally said you had to solder it on the other side of that resistor, but I was wrong. I spent some more time tracing it out, and it actually does connect to the reset pin here. So this is the only one you have to solder. Just make sure you don't get a bridge on the other pads. Alright, have the wires correctly done. Just keep in mind I had to move the green wire to the right spot. Besides that, everything else is the same. So now you can plug this into your computer. Go into my folder Unbrick mega32u2 chip. Plug this guy in. If I can find it. Oops. Okay. And then you want to click on USB right full boot plus ppm. Any key to continue. Alright, so once it's done, you can unplug it. You can remove those stuff from your ISP, and then you're going to want to plug it in. My virtual machine is lagging, so that one took a while to work for some reason. Unless this guy's not plugged in all the way. No, it was. Right. So we're just going to confirm we get a COM port now. And we do. It shows it right there already. We can double check it. Device manager. Okay, COM3 again. And then we can triple check it in MissionPlanner if it'll open up, because this machine's running really laggy for some reason. Okay, so it's COM3, 115200, connect. And all is well. Alright, so I can unplug it or disconnect it. Alright guys, that's it for this video. Hopefully it helps somebody out. And yeah, like and subscribe, and that's all. If you run into problems, just hit me up in the comments.